Remember when 8 House Republicans bizarrely joined forces with Democrats to spare the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas from impeachment? Well, we often say Trump was right about one policy after another that President Joe Biden has inexplicably reversed on everything from the economy to foreign policy. Well, it turns out MTG was right. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of former President Donald Trump's fiercest allies, and earlier this month, she took the lead on holding Team Biden accountable for their failed border policies from the south to the north. Just under 2 weeks ago, we watched MTG's effort to impeach Mayorkas get blocked by that small group of Republicans who claimed they wanted to study the issue some more, kick it back to a House committee for further investigation before finally ousting him, even though the cabinet secretary had already provided himself ample evidence of his failures. Mayorkas has repeatedly admitted under oath he's basically lost control of the so-called gotaways who have illegally made it into our country, as well as failing to clearly answer questions about how many criminals on the FBI's terror watch list have already snuck into America. Some of those Republicans, like Darrell Issa, tried to shift the blame from themselves by going after the Congresswoman. Issa declaring, quote, "Marjorie Taylor Greene is a hardworking member of Congress, but I believe she lacks the maturity, ouch, and the experience, ouch, to understand what she was asking for." Well, MTG, as she often does, immediately fired back, showing how she gives no quarter to Democrats or Republicans, quickly questioning, Issa's manhood, I guess. MTG writing, quote, "Darrell Issa is right. I am a hardworking member of Congress who puts the American people first. But we all know what Darrell Issa lacks." And there were some emojis there like baseballs, basketballs, footballs. You get the idea. It's that bold, blunt approach that drives her critics wild, but also will likely land her on the New York Times bestseller list with a new memoir that Sergio Gore, the president and founder of Winning Team Publishing, is promising will blow the lid off of the swamp and map out a plan to save our republic, something we all need right now. The former president has already posted on Truth Social, you see right there, about the book, which has an appropriately direct title, MTG, Mr. Trump declaring, despite the onslaught from the Marxist Democrats and the fake news media, Marjorie refuses to back down and never stops fighting. It can be found at mtgbook.com. Is already sparking questions about our next move. Governor Greene, senator from Georgia, or maybe even running mate with the former president? The Congresswoman says she's leaving the door open to everything, so let's not guess. We decided let's go to the source herself, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who joined us to sit down to talk about the book and a whole lot more. Watch. Congresswoman, first of all, congrats on the book and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much, Ed. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
All right. Well, I want to welcome you in on this question of immigration. You heard the setup. We were here and we launched N2, like just as you were fighting the good fight here. And I was scratching my head and we reported on there, how in the world could these 8 Republicans side with the Democrats? What's your sense about just how failed the border policies are, but just how of the Biden administration, but why there are some Republicans who are part of the swamp and want to protect Team Biden?
I can't even answer those questions. It's outrageous to me that 8 Republicans joined the Democrats to stop the impeachment of Secretary Mayorkas. And we know the numbers every single day and every month, the numbers get worse. But with 1.8 million gotaways in our country, 10 million people that crossed our border, and we know that there are terrorists mixed in among those gotaways, could be by the thousands. I just want to know how many dead Americans are going to have to pile up from fentanyl poisoning to different illegal alien crime before we're going to have Republicans grow a spine and a backbone and actually have the maturity and the courage to do the right thing and impeach Mayorkas and also hold the Biden administration accountable.
Absolutely. What do you make of even some Democrats, mayors like Adams in New York, saying New York's getting destroyed by illegal immigrants? As Donald Trump first said in 2015, there's no more border states. It's not about Arizona and Texas. New York, Illinois, they're all being overrun by illegal immigrants. We did a story this week that they were trying to give out free turkeys to folks in low-income housing in New York City, folks who are American citizens. They were supposed to come at 11 a.m. one morning, and at 10:30, all the illegal immigrants had gotten a heads up, and they took the turkeys first. And I said on the air, of course we want everyone to be fed. We don't want people to be hungry for Thanksgiving, but there's no sense of America first like Donald Trump talks about?
Oh, I totally agree. I didn't hear that story. That's outrageous. Look, what's happening in New York is actually going to be what sends President Trump into the White House with the most overwhelming record number of votes in United States history. I mean, you have people like Cardi B going on TikTok and doing viral videos about how she can't stand it in New York anymore because there's so many migrants sleeping all over the streets. I mean, we know exactly what this is. It's an invasion. But I got to tell you, I had Mayorkas in front of me right after the attempt to impeach him failed, like the next day on the Homeland Committee.
Yeah.
And one of the Democrats was questioning him and asked him how he felt about the word invasion. And Mayorkas said he is offended by that word. Can you imagine? He's offended by the word invasion. The entire country is offended by the invasion that he has caused by willfully breaking the laws of America and not doing his job.
You know what? You perfectly led me to the next question, because it seems like he's more focused on words than enforcing our immigration laws. I don't know if you heard this one, but the Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project got their hands on a memo. And basically, Mayorkas sent this to Border Patrol agents. That basically be careful of misgendering illegal aliens at the southern border. Quote, if a longer dialogue with a migrant is occurring, it may be appropriate to ask the individual their preferred pronoun. For example, state, I'd like to be respectful. What name and pronoun would you like me to use when addressing you? Now, I'm not sure if you already knew that. Maybe Darrell Issa should make that part of their investigation. It sounds like their priorities are completely off.
Sounds like they're pushing the woke agenda on people that are trying to illegally enter our country. I have to tell you, there's one thing for sure. Every time a dead body goes into the morgue, they're never questioning their gender. It's only male or female. So this is really no argument. But the problem is the Democrats are the party of Marxism. They're the Communist Party. But I'm really angry at Republicans. And I write about this in my book, Ed, my new book, MTG. I'm tired of the Republican Party doing nothing to hold them accountable. I am really sick and tired of the strongly worded letters. I am so tired of the news hits one after another where Republicans talk tough on TV, but when it comes to actually voting the tough votes, they fall apart every single time. And this is why our country is falling apart.
So tell us something surprising. We mentioned mtgbook.com. It promises that you're going to open up about your life, your upbringing. Give us at least one thing that's surprising about MTG.
Well, I think what people are going to read is the stories behind the headlines, you know, crazy headlines like Jewish space lasers, the stories that you've read about me. I tell the stories that were happening, the real things happening in my life during that time. I also talk about January 6th, where I was on the House floor when it all went down. And I tell about the visit that I made to the DC jail in November of 2021. I was the first member of Congress to go in and visit them. One of the worst things I've seen in my life, and it haunts me to this day, and I'm sure it will the rest of my life. But I hope people get my book, MTG, at mtgbook.com. And I think it's going to be a great holiday read. They can get extra copies, pop them in the stockings. There's going to be some funny stories in there, some sad stories, and some things that really make you angry. But it's all the truth, and I rip back the curtain so everyone can really understand what happens in Washington.
Absolutely. You mentioned January 6th. How is Speaker Johnson doing so far? It was controversial to push him out, obviously. He's now released some of the videotapes. He promised that. McCarthy promised that and didn't fully deliver on it. What are your thoughts? I saw you immediately put out a statement saying, okay, but you want more. You want an investigation, maybe of the January 6th committee and maybe of finally getting to the truth. How's the Speaker doing so far? And what more do you want on January 6th?
Well, I think the honeymoon phase is just wearing off for Speaker Johnson, as he's really been spending a lot of time setting up and hiring his staff. But I think releasing 90 hours of the 44,000 hours is not enough. Now, the portal that came out that he released has been being built for months now. That was something that was happening under Speaker McCarthy and Barry Loudermilk on the House Admin Committee. And I'm happy that it started coming out. But we need accountability. That's what I'm calling for. We need a real January 6th Select Committee that is going to subpoena the former January 6th committee members, Nancy Pelosi, federal law enforcement, federal agencies, because we need to get to the bottom of it, and people need to be held accountable. And I think we could do that correctly under a President Trump Department of Justice.
And if, in fact, he becomes president, Ron DeSantis had a spokesperson on Newsmax earlier this week who said, look, DeSantis doesn't want to be VP, but he'd consider a DeSantis Trump ticket, which I suspect I'll get a smile out of you for, because he's way behind in those primaries. I can't imagine Donald Trump would want that, or that it will even happen. What about Trump MTG? Does that have a ring to it for you?
Well, of course, that's the ultimate decision for President Trump, and I would serve him in any capacity he asks me to. But I definitely would like to say I am not sure what kind of Kool-Aid the DeSantis king is drinking, and they really need to get a grip on what the polling is saying.
Yep, it's pretty clear that President Trump's sort of far and away the leader. Last thing, it's not just the Republican primaries. For a year or more, we've heard the mainstream media say, well, okay, fine, he's still got this strong MAGA base, but there's no way he can win a general election. Now that every single major TV network and fake news has said, look, he's beating Biden, Democrats seem like they're in a state of panic. What's the state of the country in your eyes right now and the likelihood of a Trump victory?
I think the likelihood is huge. And the state of the country right now, people are losing hope. They're losing hope for our future. They are suffering greatly under Bidenomics and the crippling inflation, high interest rates, food they can't afford. Senior citizens are really having a hard time, and fixed income folks that are struggling month to month and barely able to make it. You know, I think it's a terrible time right now. And the saddest thing I hear is people losing hope, and they are putting their hope in President Trump winning in 2024 and going back in the White House to fix all of these problems and really work to make America great again. Those are the policies I believe in, Ed, and I believe we can get President Trump back in the White House. And
last thing, there's now this push to subpoena the assistant U.S. attorney in Delaware that House Republicans are leading. They might have that person come in early December and answer some questions about what they've been sitting on with Hunter Biden. There's been subpoenas of his, the art dealers and the people who bought the art. He's selling this art. We didn't even know he could paint, and people in China are buying this and paying a lot of money, raising a lot of eyebrows also about the money, the checks that went into Joe Biden's bank account, not just Hunter's. As the last thing, do you think we're making any progress on a potential impeachment of Joe Biden?
We are making progress. So I serve on the Oversight Committee, and I wrote a whole chapter about impeachment, the case for impeachment, in my book. And I hope people read about it because I put a lot of detail in there. Joe Biden and his entire family are guilty as hell, and they are guilty of money laundering and selling out America by selling out policy favors from Joe Biden's powerful positions in Washington. And this is something that should not be tolerated. We need a few more Republicans to get on board with impeachment. And as long as we can convince them to vote the correct way, the way America believes they should vote, then we can get this done. And I hope that's something we're able to do maybe in December, or hopefully in the new year.
Congresswoman, we appreciate your time. The book is MTG. The woman is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Thanks for coming on N2. Hope you come back.
Thank you so much, Ed. God bless you, and happy Thanksgiving.